Good morning. All eyes will be on the PSL this week after Saturday's ABSA Premiership match between Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates was marred by crowd violence. Will the league send a strong message to the clubs involved as well as their fans? To talk more on the matter, we are joined by Phakaaathi football editor Jonty Mark. Good morning, Jonty. What kind of punishment can we expect to be handed down to the clubs?
Good morning. Well, I think the PSL have to throw the book at Pirates and Sundowns. I think Pirates, especially their fans, obviously disgraceful behaviour on Saturday at Loftus Stadium, invading the pitch. The game ultimately was abandoned for a period of time. It then got finished, but I mean, they really have to crack down. I think a stadium ban could be expected for Orlando Pirates, where their fans are not allowed to attend matches, and I think a heavy fine, possibly for both clubs, of course. Once Pirates fans invaded the pitch, Sundowns fans also ran onto the pitch. I mean, they can claim that they ran onto the pitch to stop the Pirates fans, but that's no way to deal with that. So I think both teams could have landed themselves in serious hot water here.
Now, if they're found guilty or given any kind of sentence, are suspended sentences enough for such an incident?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I mean, the nature of what happened and the seriousness of it, I think, needs to be taken into account. And I think suspended sentences are not really effective. And I feel like certainly Pirates need to receive a harsher punishment than just a suspended sentence. So I would think. But then obviously, and also I think that the PSL could find themselves in a little bit of a sticky situation, given that the PSL chairman is Ivan Khoza and the Orlando Pirates chairman is Ivan Khoza. So if they don't hand down a more serious sentence in that sense, then questions are bound to be raised by the public on this matter.
So obviously there were certain fans that were, that were the main catalyst for this as well. How do you punish offending fans, since fines only affect the clubs?
Well, depending on the footage you have, obviously you can identify the fans. I don't know how efficient that'll be, though. I mean, I don't know what sort of record Orlando Pirates have of their supporters as well, and what sort of supporters club they have in terms of identifying the supporters that ran on the pitch. Obviously, any names, any people that they can identify that were seriously involved in the violence and in, I think the tearing up of the television cables, because there was a loss of TV pictures. The fans started by ripping up the TV cables, then they, were ripping up seats, then they were running on the pitch. So any fans you can identify, obviously you can try and implement a stadium ban specifically for those fans. Problem then comes is that you need photo IDs of these fans to be given to security who are on the gate, so that the fans, if they do then turn up at another game, are not allowed in. And I don't know how much technology there is in place to implement something like that. So I think in reality, I think it would be very difficult to keep a fan out of a stadium who has committed the violence on the weekend.
Jonty, obviously this has also highlighted the fact that security is perhaps not up to scratch, and they were very much caught on the back foot with what happened on Saturday, mentioning all the damage that was caused in those few minutes of a pandemonium on the field.
Sure, I mean, you can criticize security. I've got some sympathy for them. I don't think that's the easiest job, and I think, you don't really necessarily expect a situation like that where fans start ripping up TV cables, start invading the pitches, and you can have a situation where if security use too much force on the fans that run on the pitch, then they get criticized contrarily, if you like, because they're then accused of being over the top. So I don't know. There has to be a balance, but yes, you could say they could have cleaned up the situation a bit better. In that sense, perhaps they could have been a bit more aggressive with the supporters who did run amok for quite a while there. But I do, from a personal note, I have some sympathy with what is a very difficult job to handle in a situation like that.
What do the sponsors have to say about this? Because this can't be making them very happy seeing something like this happen.
No, it gives an awful image, obviously, for the sponsor. And I mean, it's really a lot talked about the fact that fans don't really attend PSL games. That you see empty stands all the time. And this kind of situation can do absolutely nothing to help that. If I'm a parent, I want to take my child, or I'm a husband, I want to take my wife to the game, I'm going to be seriously reluctant to do so in the future. So, you know, it really is bad for the image of the PSL, for all the sponsors, for, you know, for ABSA, especially who sponsor the ABSA Premiership. There is you mentioned there's a Pirates press conference today. There's also an ABSA Premiership press conference, which was not supposed to be related to this incident, but I'm pretty sure that now this will also be raised, and the PSL will have to answer some questions about this situation today as well.
Now, we know it's financially difficult times. Should the PSL be worried about Saturday's events and what it does to the brand itself?
Yeah, I think it does damage the brand. I think all the stakeholders, from the television rights holders to the PSL to the sponsors, as we've mentioned, it certainly, you know, financially, in terms of obviously people buying tickets, even though not many people seem to be buying tickets to games these days, you know, that can only damage ticket sales. It can also only damage, you know, the image of the sport, and therefore damage the amount of money coming in from sponsors. I mean, if you're a sponsor watching that, your willingness to sponsor the game is likely to be lessened. So yeah, I think there can be financial implications. You do have to say that this is an incident that is a rarity in South African football. It's not like it happens all the time every weekend. So I mean, I think we have to put it in a little bit into perspective in that sense. So in the long term, maybe it won't damage the sponsors' images too much, but you know, it's something that you really don't want to see in South African football or in any football.
Jonty, we'll have to leave it there for now. That was Phakaaathi football editor Jonty Mark talking about the unfortunate events from Saturday's ABSA Premiership game.